Welcome back to another Saturday morning creativity, and I got something new for you guys. So this is a little fennec fox, and I just grabbed a bunch of images, and I wanted to do this because it's a cute little critter, little animal, and I can also, doing it in a sleeping pose like this, it can be super simple. So, and it'll create some, you can always kind of edit and change it a little bit to kind of make it your own. But again, it's going to get you guys started and actually giving it a shot instead of shooting it down and saying, you know what, I really don't think I'm able to do that, or I really don't think that I have the skills or the abilities to pull that off. So, therefore, we are going to get started on this guy. So to get started on this, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to make it a decent size so that everybody can see, but we're going to do like a big cylinder shape for the body that I'm just going to kind of curl up, and you can see there'll be a couple folds that I'll add in there where the body kind of crinkles up on the inside. I'll do a long cylinder for the tail, a circle for the head, a couple of triangles or cones for the ears, and then just a little bit extra for the nose. So, with that, I'm going to use this and make a cylinder, kind of. And one thing to keep in mind is to kind of have it a little bit thicker in the middle towards the end, and then skinnier up here where the head would be. So go ahead and grab that, and I'm just going to kind of bend it. And this is just a starting spot, so I can always add more clay in wherever I need it. Like I'm already starting to notice where the back leg is. I'm going to add a little bit more clay there. But we're going to start there and kind of put in a couple spots where the body's folding over itself. But then go ahead and do a decent shape for the tail. And the tail is actually kind of thick, so I'm going to use this more clay for this. And that just kind of connects there and goes there. And I wanted to do that first before the head, because the head is kind of laying on top of everything. So here we have this, and then from there we're going to do a ball for the head. Let me go just a little bit bigger than that. I'm just going to do a ball, and that is going to go here and lay right over top of the tail. Do a little ball towards a cylinder or towards a cone for where the nose would be, or the snout, and just kind of place that on the front. And I'm actually just going to make a couple of indents so that I know where the eyes are. And the neck, add a little bit more clay back here because the neck does go right into, or the head does go right into the body for the neck. And then what we do is the ears are pretty big, so we can make decently sized ones. So we're going to go ahead and roll it into a ball. Put the bottom of your hands together to kind of make it into a cone shape. And I'm going to kind of flatten it more towards the bottom so that we have this shape. And with these, I'm going to go ahead and do it again. But with these, you can add a lot of character with also, whether you want the fox's ears to be a little bit more awake and up, or a little bit farther down and spread out. But here you can actually see I'm going to actually move the head in a little bit, get it off the tail, and shift it in so it's a little bit tighter of a coil, and just lay it there. And so here you can see we're already starting to get something. Now I'm going to shift the camera down to give you guys a little bit better of a view, and then we'll keep going. All right, so here we go. And continuing on. So even though everything is curled up, kind of tight, it still does, the fox still does have legs that are underneath there. Now we're not going to see a lot of them, but we are going to see, you know, like where they come off of the body. So I'm actually going to push the head out of the way just so I can get in here, and I'm going to actually shape the hind leg here, just kind of add a little bit more clay and kind of round it out. And basically the hind leg is basically just going to be almost like a circular shape. So it's basically just adding a little bit on here like this and just kind of rounding out the front of the leg, and then this would connect to the back of the body. So that's basically what I'm doing right here. Pull the tail off, and the outside of the body should actually round a little bit more. I had kind of more of a point there. And okay, there's that. The other thing I'm noticing is that on the outside it's a little bit flatter, so I'm going to kind of shape this a little bit more. You have basically the spine, which is kind of going right here, so that's going to be the highest point, and then it kind of slopes off to kind of go around where the belly is. So just taking a little bit off of these edges for that. Actually, the spine isn't going to be here, it's going to be kind of off to the edge here, but it's still going to round out towards the bottom. And then for the front leg, I'm just going to add in a little worm of clay right around here that's just going to kind of come straight down. I don't have to go in too much with it because it's still going to be, a lot of that is going to be locked under the head. Actually, because the way I'm looking at this, if I have the head turned this way, the spine is actually going to be a little bit farther than I was originally thinking. So we're going to say the spine's probably right here. Now it's still going to round out like this, but what that changes is the hind leg is actually going to come up a little bit higher and is actually going to stick out just a little bit more than the back at this point. So again, just add a little bit of clay and just kind of blend that in so that the back leg is kind of sticking up higher than that section of the back. Okay, I'm gonna add just a little bit more to the arm that's up here, that way it's sticking out a little bit more, and giving it a little bit of a shoulder. Okay, going to reconnect where that tail was, and I'm actually going to pull this in even tighter to have it lay right there. And now you can kind of start playing with the face. And I'm going to add in a little bit more clay here. Let's see. Shaping and just kind of going in and adding in the different shapes that are there that I see on the image that's over here. Add in a little bit more clay here to kind of build up where the brow actually is. And do the same thing on the other side. I'm actually going to add in also just a little bit for where the cheek is on both sides. Now, if you wanted to sculpt the eye open, you definitely can. You know, this is your own piece, so you can make it however you would like. But now it's just going to be a matter of adding on little bits and pieces to kind of mimic and develop the shape of the face and the ears. Let me decide on... Alright, so I'm actually going to have mine coming up instead of down. So because they're going to be, so this is where I've decided they're going to be. Now I just need to make sure that they're connected good to the head and figuring out the rest of the shape all around them. So here, just adding a little bit to the back because the ears aren't flat, they're actually rounded. The original flat shape was just to get them in there and get them placed. And then this fills in the rest of their shape and also kind of helps to connect them. But right here, you can already see that it's already taking shape and coming to life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and speed up this track and kind of play a little bit more and complete a little bit more. And then what we'll do is go ahead and just basically I'm just going to keep filling in and seeing what else I can kind of bring to it. So we'll go ahead and speed it up. You guys can watch along and sculpt along as well. Alright, so I've been playing with this for a little while, and obviously it's not super tight or detailed, but I wanted to jump in and share with you guys a few different things that you guys could do. And so, I'm going to kind of do it in a couple different ways to show you guys on a little bit different scales. But depending on how you wanted to, if you want to keep going and finishing this, there's a few different options. You can do a super loose and kind of more of a fine art and rough kind of finish, whether you want to use like a straight edge tool or like a spoon, like a curved tool, and just kind of go over the surface, and that'll leave like a super rough kind of texture, you know. So going in here, you know, you can go over it a few times and depending on how you would like it to look. So something like that. Or kind of digging in with the corner to kind of, you could do it something like this, or if you wanted to dig in a little bit more with the point, you can actually make it a little bit rougher, but actually start to define a little bit of fur with it, but still being, clean this slate a little bit, but still being super rough and not worrying about it being 100% perfect, you know. So you can do something like this, which will start giving the idea of fur. Another option for you is if you did want to go in and start really texturing it, go in with either a really small loop tool or one of these stylus types of tools, which is basically just has like a little ball at the end, and they come in a whole bunch of different sizes. Same thing with these. But what you can do is just kind of do really short little kind of curvy lines and do a few layers, and it's going to take a few layers and a couple passes to do this. But doing that, or doing the same thing with this, is basically just drawing on the sculpture. So you don't want to do any straight lines, but you're going to want to do kind of these curved lines like this. Just keep the tool moving as you're doing it. And you're going to end up overlapping a few of them. And the same thing goes with this. But basically doing that and kind of going over it, with water-based clay, you can smooth it out with some water. But it's going to take a few passes, and then the other thing to also kind of work in is, as you're doing that, also add in some extra clay, because fur isn't all going to be dug in. You're going to have areas that aren't as smooth as others, and it'll really bring it to life when you start adding in little bits of clay for where the fur might be sticking out. You know, so it's going to take a lot of back and forth and balance with going in and then kind of sculpting in and doing a little bit more digging out and around that until, you know, you figure out exactly the method that you're going to use and exactly what's working for you. Another option that I just thought about as I was doing that is you can always just add on clay and keep it, either add on clay as fur and either keep it loose and rough like this, or use this as your base and then go in and kind of carve in and around that. But just doing little worms of clay, and the best way to do it would really be to start down here and kind of work your way up. That way the fur that's up here is overlapping the fur that's down here. However, I'm just doing this small section just to kind of show you guys what that could be. And then you can kind of work on this and figuring out, you know, if you want to cut in a little bit, or turn this into a few hairs, things like that. But you're definitely going to want to start with the bigger shapes and then kind of work your way down. But there you guys go. I hope you guys have enjoyed this and that you guys go ahead and try to create your own character. Again, take it as far or as little as you like. The whole purpose of this is starting out with some simple shapes that you can then basically take off with and then use your own imagination to really bring it to life. I'm really trying with these to create some activities that you guys can do to have fun as a hobby, to do together as a family with the kids, and basically demolishing that concept idea of I can't sculpt, or I don't know how to sculpt, or I don't know where to start. This gives you the super simple basic building blocks, and you won't have that excuse. And I also don't want to create something so technical and difficult looking in the end to where you look at it and you say, you know what, that's just too hard. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. I want to see what you guys create, and I will see you guys next week.